Hi, come on into my studio. Grab a seat. I have a really cute watercolor and ink painting I'd like to show you how to do. All you'll need is watercolors, so whatever palette you have, watercolor paper, a pencil, and a black fine ink liner. And there is a traceable for this in my memberships on the first level, and it's available for all levels. And that is my Patreon and my YouTube membership. For YouTube, it's just down below. There's a little join button. So whatever you prefer, you can find all the traceables from now till 2 years ago. All right, we'll see you in a bit. All right, so let's begin this cute little bird. Valentine's, I guess. And we're going to start by drawing. So I'm going to put the branch in first. So I'm just going to have it going up like this. Can make it a little bit of wobbly. And I think it'll go down like that. And then a little bit like that, branching off again. Like that. And maybe put a little one right here. Like that. So we're going to have the two birds. So the way I look at drawing is shapes. So this first little bird, these are whimsical birds, so I'm not going to make them too big because I have to remember I want to get the hat in there. So, and his tail's got to fit. So actually, let's put his tail in just to make sure that that fits in like that. And then his little body can go like this. So he's going to be fluffy. And then he's going to be looking at his girlfriend here. And then he has his hat. So his hat, it's kind of sloppy looking. You can make it however you want. Just this cute little wonky doodle hat that he's going to be wearing. And I think I'll bring it down into the head a little bit. And then his beak is going to be fairly big. They have fairly big beaks. And it's going to go into that circle. Like so. And then his eye is usually kind of close to the beak, kind of in the center where the opening of the beak is. So we'll put that in. And then you got to put his eyelid on. Let's make the little hat thing there. And then a little bit of his wing will show. And then of course we've got to put his leg in. So just a little nub for the top part, and then 3 little claws that kind of spray out. Like that. And then his other one's going to be over here. Like that. Okay. And then the little mate I'm going to put right here. So her tail first, so I know how big to make this. Actually, let's make this a little bit bigger, like that. And then it comes up a little bit. And then her body. She's all puffed out because it's cold. And then she's looking at her or him. And then just connect them and we'll give a little wing here. And then the beak. Let's put the hat in first. The hat kind of comes down like this over the side. Like that. And let's put a little heart hanging off of there. Maybe we'll put a heart here too. And then the beak. That. It's fairly big beaks. Like that. And then the eye close to the beak. With a little ring around it. And then I think I'm going to give him a scarf. Or her. So let's see. We'll have the scarf coming out here. It's tied. Like that. Like that. So we'll make him fuzzy, or her fuzzy. Keep seeing him. And then the little feet. Now the scarf's going to kind of hide a little bit of the foot here, but I'll put a few claws over the edge of that. And then this one here, the little claws. Like that. These are very whimsical. And then I think I'm going to have this as a pussy willow. So let's make another little branch right here. Some pussy willows on it. Like that. Maybe a few in here. Just little bumps on the bottom of the branch. And you can just stick a pussy willow on there. Kind of have them go in the same direction though. Okay, and maybe we'll put one right here. We always forget to put it right on the branch. So we get caught up in doing the sides all the time. Like that. So then you can take your eraser. Let's see. And erase any lines that you don't want. So we can take those circles out now. Wherever it's going into some of the other part of the bird. You do want to get rid of some of these lines because watercolor is very transparent, so you're going to see it. But if you like sketchy lines in your work, then leave it. Let's think that's pretty good. All right, so there's our first step. Okay, so I have my water. I have two compartments in my water, one for rinsing off your dirty brush and the other for picking up clean water. I have my palette here, and this is a mix of Winsor Newton, Daniel Smith, M. Graham, Core by Golden. And today I'm going to use my Silver Black Velvet number 6. It's a fairly small. I might even go into a 2 for the real small areas. And we're going to do wet into wet to start off with. I'm going to start off with this guy right here. So I'm just wetting my paper in the areas that I want to paint with clean water. So we're just going to flood this with a nice color of red. And this is just the base coat. Okay. So let's see, we have a nice red. We want a nice red. So let's start off always light. So we have, this is a really nice red. It's Scarlet Lake. Like that. We'll let it dry. We could actually do add a little bit of red. I have some yellow and red together, so I'm going to use that. It was already on my palette, and I'm just going to put that on the beak. If it runs into the other, that's fine for me. And the female kind of has the same color beak, so we'll put that in there too while we're at it. And I just want a really pale color, almost a skin color. So we have red here. Let's do some ochre. And I'm going to add some red to that ochre. Maybe a little bit more. What kind of a skin tone? So there's a really light color. So before putting it on your sheet, it's best to take a spare piece of watercolor paper. So I had some. Where did I put it? Okay. So let's test it out. Yeah, that's good. So let's add some of that. Okay. And now let's give that a dry. So I'm thinking of the hat. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same color as the male bird here. And I'm going to put wet into dry application. Just on the top part of the hat. I just want it matching, the same color. So a lot of times it looks more cohesive if you add the same color in different spots of your painting instead of going to a completely different color. Less is more as far as adding color. All right. And I think I'll do that with a scarf too. We'll add some pattern to this too. I'm going to add probably some pen work to this. And let's do some stripes maybe on the hat. So just using the very tip of my brush. Like that. And then I think I'm going to use this really pretty, it's called Leaf Green. It's by Da Vinci. It's a beautiful green. And I'm going to make the rim of his hat this green. And then I'm going to put stripes. So he has wrinkles and folds. So what you can do is make your stripes a little wonky. You can even add more if you want. All right. That's looking good. I think I'm going to put red in the hearts here. Like so. Now I see on the hat here I got a little bit of a bloom, but I kind of like it. I'm not always opposed to cauliflowers or blooms, whatever you want to call them. I kind of like them actually. All right. Now the little legs are kind of a grayish color, so I'm just going to use this kind of a muddy color up here, which will be perfect, and put in their little feet. Good. And while we're at it, let's put in their eye too, with this grayish color. So I'm just going to put the whole thing in this one color, and then we'll do the black in the center later. That looks good. Okay, so this is all base coating first. So now let's do this stem of pussy willows. So probably a brownish color. So let's mix a little bit of umber, burnt umber, up here with this muddy color, just to change it up a little bit. So I don't want it the same color as the legs. And let's put a coat of this on. Now you could do a wet into wet or wet into dry. It's up to you. You'll get a different effect with both. It's always good practice to use the tip of your brush to doing fiddly stuff like this. It's just good practice. Take your time. Enjoy what you're doing. Now I can go underneath here of the stem with a darker, a little bit of a more of a darker color on my brush. Not much, but it is a little darker. Just go underneath some of this here. There would be a shadow. Okay, it's looking good. Now the pussy willows, so we're gonna do it in the before they bloom. So a little bit of either indigo or a dark blue, ultramarine, and burnt umber will give you a gray. And all you have to do is use more water if you want it lighter, and just coat these little guys. Okay, so this is a Princeton Velvet Touch Filbert Grainer. So as you can see, the end, the bristles separate. It becomes thinner. And that'll give you individual little marks. And that's what you want when you're doing fur or feathers. Now, You have to do wet into dry though, so it doesn't spread. So let's start off with this female here. So I'm going to get a little bit more of that orangey color, maybe darken it. I have a little bit of a darker hue here of a red. And take a piece of paper and see if you got too much water. See how you have to be very light touch. You have to be very light touched with doing this. So she's going to have a little bit more around her eye. I'm thinking of how the feathers would be lying. And then as it short strokes. Not a whole lot, just a few. And then maybe a couple on her by her neck there. And then on her more or less on the bottom and the sides would have a little bit more. If you have a smaller grainer, you can use that. This isn't a watercolor brush. This is actually a acrylic brush, but it works pretty good. And then down her tail. And now I can also sweep it out a little bit so it makes her look fuzzy. And I'm going to put a little bit of that red for the male and put that on her wings. She would have a little bit of red on her wings. I'm just going to sweep it out. This is a very whimsical illustration of birds, but I think they're cute. Okay, and then just a little bit of the darker color again. And I'm just going to go underneath here and add a little bit darkness just under the bottom here. And just where her tail meets, it would be a lot darker in her body because it's underneath her. Same within here. So she has a number of different tail feathers here. That, and even on her wing. More along the side of her wing, closer to her body. And a little bit under the hat. So there'd be a shadow there. I think I'm going to do a little bit under the eye too. just like that. Okay, and now we can do the male. And so we can start off by just making your um, red thicker in pigment than water. And that'll come out much darker. So take a look at a reference photo if you want to. A little bit darker under the hat. Now his face is going to be black, so I'm not too worried about how it looks right now. I'm just going to sweep a little bit past the body just to show it's a little bit more um, fluffy. And maybe I'll do that in black, I think. Let's put a little more down here. And a few little swifts of fur feathers. And then on the tail here, put a little bit spraying out the side. That. And I'm just going to sweep it up like I did the other one. So it would be darker. And there's the wing there. That would be a little darker. Let's bring this out a little bit. Okay. And now we can add a little bit of brown. So the burnt umber to that mix, or we can make it on the side here. Just make a little bit of a darker mix. And do the same thing. Okay. So now I'm going to get back to my number 6 here. Now his beak, the male beak, is kind of red. So there'll be a little bit of a highlight. It is quite dark. So that orange we put on, it will still shine through a bit. And the female's beak is a little bit lighter, but does have a little bit of a shadow. So just use that to shadow some areas in it. And then just take a damp brush and even it out like that. And then just around his eye is mostly black. I think I need a smaller one. Let's make a thicker consistency of paint. I'm just going to dab. I want it uneven looking. Don't want an uneven look around the edges. Then it sprays out. Just using the very tip of my brush. And a little bit on the tip of the wing. Be darker. Maybe inside the where the wing is against the body there. Put a little bit there. And now we can add a little bit of this in the eye. Leave a little of the gray though. Try to well, I guess I'll even that out when I do the pen work. Let's do the eye of this one. Okay. And a little bit around the beak here. Maybe some in the wing side. A little darker. Looks good. Now I'm going to take the same and put it underneath the scarf here, because that would be a shadow. Coming down there and along this side. Before it dries, get clean water and just lightly bring that to a softer edge. You don't want it too hard. Okay, so the green that's in the hat, I want to put in her hat too. So I'm going to take some of that green and add stripes to the hat. Maybe polka dots on this guy's hat. Hey, he's cute. Alrighty. Yeah, I like them. It looks cute. Okay, so we're going to add a little bit of shadow now on this hat. So I just want the underside here. Let's put, I'm going to put some little green marks, I think. Wherever these little pussy willows are coming up, I'm just going to put a little mark, like it's a little leaf coming out. So I'm not really touching the pussy willow. You can add some here and there too. Why not? Let's see, I'll put one right there. And I think I'm going to use ochre. So there's kind of like a little shell thing that they have on. Almost looks like a shell. And it's usually a brownish color. Kind of goes up like that onto the pussy willow. It's part of the bud when it breaks out. Okay, so let's give that a dry and then get out our liners. These are the micro perm and they are permanent markers, so they're waterproof. And I like sketchy marks. So I underneath here I am just going to put some kind of sketchy back and forth marks in here where the branches go underneath. You can even, if you have marks of different colors of brown in here, you could even just go around those marks with your pen. That kind of looks neat. I like doing that. Looks good. Now with the pussy willows, what you can do, start off by just adding some little marks sticking out like a porcupine almost. Start around the outer edge and then work your way in. Around the outer edge will have more of a cumulative look. So it'll be a little more darker. And then as you get into the middle, make those marks smaller so they end up turning into more or less dots. like that. I think that looks good. All right. So now let's do these legs here. So again, I'm going to make the claws, little nails. The nails are usually curved, so you can put that in. And the shadow in between, just to bring those out a little bit. And then let's put the little rings on their toes. Like that. Just brings them out. Gives them a little bit of something there. Now I'm going to put a few little marks, not much, just a few on the bottom here, in the tail. Just to show that there's a little bit of a difference in the feathers. Put a little bit of spray of, I'm going to put that ring around the eye now. Like that. Darker end here. You can bring a little bit of the little fluffs in there. Sketchy. And just a little bit of maybe shadowing in here along the bottom of this scarf. Be a little bit shadowed in there. A little bit of a fold in the scarf. Even though we put shadow in here, we can still add more by adding line work. Like in here, could use some. Could put even some little tufts of fuzz, like that. I'm going to make her eye real dark now. And you can even it out if you find it was a little uneven. Even in here, shadowed areas, I like to do a lot of pen work. Just adds a little bit of something. Don't have to put a lot, but I like a little bit. Just adds to their Okay, I think she's good. Let's do her tail. Maybe she'd have a little bit of feather work there. That. A little darker in here. Yeah, I like that. She looks good. Okay, so let's do this guy here. So if you have a Posca or a white jelly roll, uh, white pen, let's see what I got here. This part always is the finishing touch. So a little mark right there and one right there. And I'm going to put a little mark right here and on the top of his nose. Same with here. And right there. Let's see. A little mark on the heart. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to add a little bit of a background. So this is kind of scary sometimes, but why not experiment? So let's put some, I'm going to just add some water to my background here. Let's see. Just here and there. Nothing drastic, and a little bit of pink. Maybe some yellow. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some salt on there and let it have fun. So I'm just going to sprinkle all over my page, and we'll see. We may not get a whole lot because there's not a lot of pigment on here, but we might be surprised, and you never know until you try. So that's what I'm going to do. So let's leave that and we'll come back to it in just a minute. All right, so it's almost dry, as you can see. There is some very soft blooming going on, some cool colors. Very subtle, but that's all I really want. All right, so let's take this off. So this is just plain old invisible tape. We'll see how this comes off. It's supposed to be a little easier than other tapes. Always pull on a 45-degree angle. That way you don't rip your paper. Yeah, it worked pretty good. So I hope you'll give this a try and see what you can do with it. It's an awesome little card. Could be a card for Valentine's. And don't forget to sign. Oh, that pen's almost done. And today, all right, I'll let you guys go, and thanks for spending time with me in my studio, and we'll see you next week. Have a great day, everyone.